I'm going to be watching the Chargers tonight. I can't remember the last time a game mattered. I can't remember a time in my life anything mattered at all anymore. I'm dead inside. Oh, let's do the thing.
Play action fakes it for pass in zone. Yes, touchdown.
Hi, and welcome to Geno's Picks, where after a winless shocker, Week 14, Daddy is back in the red at 27-29. But great news, we got an extra week of gambling this year. You ever do that? Like you think it's a Thursday, and it's actually a Wednesday, a whole nother week in the year. You wake up at 9, it's actually fucking 8. Fucking, we got Week 18 coming up. So let's fucking run some fucking W's heading into the new year. Let's get to the picks. My first pick, you're the best. The Raiders are giving to the Browns in Cleveland Saturday night. Wow, maybe Baker Mayfield should play for the Raiders. And no, not because they'd rather have him than Derek Carr. I don't even think they'd rather have Baker Mayfield than Marcus Mariota. No, I think he should play for the Raiders because the sharps in Vegas must absolutely love him. Why else would the line swing nearly a full TD when the Browns announced both he and head coach Kevin Stefanski will most likely miss the game after testing positive for COVID. Once again, proving my point that the NFL is normalizing COVID with headlines like this because no one cares. You don't care. I don't care. If the headline had said that Mayfield and or Stefanski tested positive for smallpox or polio, believe me, we'd have shit our pants and they would have shut down the entire NFL and closed down every stadium Mayfield has stunk up in the past year. Maybe it's because whether you realize it or not, testing positive for COVID doesn't mean you have it because the PCR test cannot tell the difference between COVID or the flu. Not unlike you using an eye test on Mayfield or his backup Case Keenum because you can't fucking tell the difference betwixt them either. Which is why I cannot believe this line moved at all. Although I will say this, when it comes to COVID, the second line on that test matters about as much as the second line to pregnancy test because either case you're facing an abortion. The Browns win the walkaway. Take the home dog Browns and lay the point. My next pick, the Redskins are getting 9 and a hook. Another one from the Eagles in Philly. Speaking of wild swings from the made-up sickness, the most made-up sickness since Ferris Bueller, the team formerly named the Redskins saw a full TD swing against the Eagles after the line jumped from them getting 2.5 to nearly a dozen after the WFTs tested positive for COVID. I'm not saying this was one of the biggest outbreaks in Redskins history, but the last time they saw this many infected, they weren't wearing jerseys made by Nike. They were wearing blankets made by colonists. Difference is the colonists had something the Eagles do not. Actual weapons, as the Eagles are the biggest fraud of a 6-win team in all of the NFL, while the Redskins have lost to teams like the Chargers, my bolts, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Packers and Broncos. The Eagles are coming off recent losses to the Giants and Raiders. The difference between these two teams is while the Washington fans have no idea what made a dozen of their players sick, the Eagles fans know that it is all of their players that make them want to throw up. Take the Washington football team and the nearly 10 points you're getting. My next pick, 3 minutes, we can do this. The Jags are giving 5 to the Texans in Jacksonville. Well, I would say that Urban Meyer got fired by Jacksonville, but it seems he got himself literally booted out of the job. Seems the final straw for ruining a team isn't wasting a roster spot on a 34-year-old retired minor league baseball player who's been out of the NFL for a decade, or for trying to fuck a chick after the game that was born a decade before that. The last straw is kicking a place kicker during practice while telling the, quote, dipshit to do his job better. I am, of course, speaking of Josh Lambo, who came out this week in more ways than one after he whined like a little bitch to the Tampa Bay Times 2 minutes Pat, that Meyer kicked him in the leg during practice on what he said was, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 5. He said it was a 5, which is why any Jags fan knows this is bullshit, because considering Lambo missed 2 extra points and all 3 of his field goals attempt before they cut him in September, they realize this guy has no idea what a good kick fucking is. This guy. And while I would imagine getting rid of Meyer will be a breath of fresh air for the team, I cannot imagine the Texans, who have not spent the entire week. I'm sorry, we ran like 2 minutes. Who haven't spent the entire week fucking using this disaster to remind themselves they're the biggest disaster in the league. Fucking the Jags are not them. I like the Jags to win something Sunday. The top spot in the draft again after the Lions pick up one more win this season. Take the Texans and the points. Which brings me to my, you'd have to be a bunch of boobs not to take this pick of the week. Whatever, Amy, everyone. Tell them your plug on Twitter.
At @whatever_Amy.
Yeah, they'll know. The Vikings are giving 4.5 to the Bears in Chicago. Not sure where you're watching this game, but I'll tell you where I'd love to watch it. At the NFL scheduling offices, so I can watch Roger Goodell asking people what the fuck they were thinking when they scheduled it. It's featuring Kirk Cousins, who may be the only person who's fared worse on nighttime TV than Magic Johnson. Thank you, Garrett. And if I wasn't sure I was thinking the Bears before that joke, resident Viking fan Speech Impediment Man sent me this graphic. If the Vikings had not given up any points in the final 2 minutes of either half, they'd be 12-0. Yeah, and if my aunt had bowls, she'd still be dead of cancer. I'm kidding. She'd be my uncle and dead of leukemia. Take the Bears and the points they're getting. Those are Geno's picks. Pat, you got a whole minute. Let's go.